Just checking, that's all. These look nice. You like that?
Everybody, time is now 9:30. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stand by on slow-mo. Can you just hit that when that turns on? Just hit the record as soon as that turns on. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Here.
Mr. Franco.
I'm here.
Mr. Cabrera.
I'm here. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the notice requirements have been satisfied as to the time, place, and date of holding said meeting by posting notice on the bulletin board here in Borough Hall and by mailing and emailing same to the Herald of Cape May County, the Press of Atlantic City on October 13th, 2021. In the event of an emergency, your emergency exit is your front left or your back right, which I assume everybody came in. Couple quick announcements. This meeting is being shown live on YouTube and also on Facebook Live. If anybody that's watching remotely has a question for the governing body, you're going to use the access code you're going to dial the conference code 888-363-4734, and then when prompted, you're going to enter the access code 969-902-0 followed by the pound or the hashtag. If you have questions after you watch the recorded version of this meeting, you're welcome to email our clerk at clerk@wildwoodcrest.org or call 609-729-8040. First on the agenda, we have some proclamations. I'd like to turn this presentation over to Commissioner Schiff. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to ask Chief Buddy Johnson to come forward.
Excuse me. Which one are you doing first? Together? Is that on?
No.
Yeah, you have to use your best. You have
Strong.
to use your best rapper's
It is on.
voice.
Brian said.
He's
Hello.
good. Oh, you're not going to hear it out here.
Oh, all right. Yeah, come on, Dave and Brian, come on up. All right, first of all, I'd like to thank the borough and the commissioners for recognizing two outstanding members of the Wildwood Crest Beach Patrol for their action and heroic duty in a life-saving situation last summer. I'm going to read the proclamation now. It says, whereas Senior Lieutenant Dave Ferrero and Senior Guard Ron Ayers demonstrated bravery and heroism when they took action in a life-threatening situation to help rescue 4 distressed swimmers. Whereas Senior Lieutenant Dave Ferrero and Senior Guard Ron Ayers selfishly and without hesitation quickly jumped into rescue mode and retrieved all 4 fatigued swimmers without incident. And whereas Senior Lieutenant Dave Ferrero, a seasoned lifeguard with 47 years of experience and training, which allowed him to save 4 lives on that day, and whereas Senior Guard Ron Ayers is a seasoned lifeguard with 19 years experience and training, which allowed him to save 4 lives on that day. Whereas it is the desire of the Board of Commissions of the Borough of Wildwood Crest to honor Senior Guard Ron Ayers and Senior Lieutenant Dave Ferrer for putting the safety of others above themselves while serving on the Wildwood Crest Beach Patrol. And now, therefore, on behalf of the Mayor of the Borough of Wildwood Crest, I do hereby proclaim Wednesday, June 8th, 2022 as Senior Guard Ron Ayers Day and Senior Lieutenant Dave Ferrero Day in the Borough of Wildwood Crest, and urge all residents of the Borough of Wildwood Crest to honor both of these gentlemen for their life-saving actions and dedication to the Wildwood Crest. Beach Patrol.
You got some pics?
Congratulations.
Sir.
We give you a couple.
Congratulations.
You want me to take the microphone, buddy?
Get out of the way.
The governing body?
Yeah, absolutely.
Me too.
You guys look right here for a second, and we'll let everybody else jump in. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, one more, 1, 2, 3, thank you.
Joe, do you want to get the other senior guards in there with a pic with them real fast?
I'm gonna have to check them out. I've been scoping out. I have no good summer pants, like to wear a cotton shirt with, or just like I wear dresses in the summer. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a dress girl.
Yeah.
Like, that's all
I have to go to a funeral.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Nice flags. All right.
Congratulations, Ron.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you to the commissioners and to Chief Johnson for recognizing this event. But honestly, it's the training and procedures that are in place at the Wildwood Crest Beach Patrol that would ensure anyone who had that shift that evening would have the same outcome.
Thank you.
So, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
It's obviously, it's great to be recognized, but like Ryan said, we're just doing what we usually do, and it's just an honor to be part of this beach patrol. 40-some years and never a drowning while we're on duty. So in light of what's been going on around here the last couple of weeks, let's hope it stays that way. So, all good. Thank you guys.
You guys are more than welcome to leave if you'd like.
You won't offend anyone.
See ya.
All right.
Oh, now we're back to normal.
Ronnie, welcome back. So welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor.
Were you on vacation?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Charleston, South
Oh,
Carolina.
nice. My wife wants to go.
Thank you.
Is everybody here? Okay, well,
Now we're normal.
okay. Okay. Madam Clerk, I believe we have one ordinance.
That is correct. And it is ordinance 1384 for the acquisition of property.
Motion that ordinance number 1384 be placed on second reading and final passage by title only.
Second that?
It has been moved and second that ordinance number 1384 be placed on second and final reading by title only.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Ordinance 1384 reads as follows. An ordinance of the Borough of Wildwood Crest authorizing the acquisition of real property by the Borough of Wildwood Crest, known as a portion of Lot 25 in Block 185, as designated on the municipal tax map.
Motion that a public hearing now be held on ordinance number 1384.
Second it?
It has been moved and second that a public hearing on ordinance number 1384 now be held.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. Floor is open for ordinance number 1384 regarding the acquisition of 117 West Jefferson. Anyone in the conference line have any comments, questions? Hearing none?
Motion that public hearing on ordinance number 1384 now be closed.
Second it?
It has been moved and seconded that the public hearing on ordinance number 1384 now be closed.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that ordinance number 1384 be passed on second and final reading, advertised according to law.
Second it?
It has been moved and seconded that ordinance number 1384 be passed on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next, we have the resolutions. The first is authorizing execution of an interlocal services agreement for fire suppression services for 2023 to 2025.
I'll motion it.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing appointments of Kristen Derogatus Vasalo, Danielle Cordino, and David Mears as members of the Wildwood Crest Green Team to fill 3 vacant positions.
Motion that.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing release of escrow funds for permit number SO21-0303 in the amount of $177.50.
Motion.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing amendment to the 2022 municipal budget to account for additional funding for the fiscal year 2022 Clean Communities Grant.
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing amendment to the 2022 municipal budget to account for additional funding from the Greater Wildwood Tourism Improvement Development Authority for the 2022 Create in the Crest Arts Festival Grant.
I have a motion.
I'm sorry, Joe.
No,
Go ahead.
sorry about that.
Take that.
I have a motion.
I'll second it.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is supporting an appropriations and levy cap exemption for a 3-year period for increased liability, workers' compensation, cyber liability, and property insurance.
Motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Lastly is authorizing the auction of abandoned vehicles on an online auction website.
Motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Trish.
Of course.
Nothing under correspondence. That brings us to our first round of public comments. Anybody here in the audience today have any public comments? Anybody on the conference line have any public comments? First round of public comments. Hearing none, that moves us on to the discussion items under new business. We'll start off with KC Signs. I believe we have in our packet some renderings that Mr. Kniff has put together with a vendor that I believe is on our New Jersey co-op program. These signs have been budgeted in our capital funding plan for this year. Originally started out to be a digital sign or two at the Crest Pier. If you recall, there's 2 marquee signs there that you have to put the long pole up and put the letters up, and I think that we have so many frequent announcements that need to be made. It's time to at least, take those signs and replace them with digital signs, so it can be, the messages on there can be controlled via computer and possibly from a cell phone, so we can get information out much more quicker and efficiently. And then there's also a design in here for a digital sign along Ocean Avenue that would go in front of the new, still under construction, Crest Arts Pavilion. So I think we have those designs. Is Brian doing it? Is there cost in here?
It's at the last page,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, all right. All right, so if I think if I can walk every way through, so the smaller signs are the ones that would be potentially for the Crest Arts Pavilion. The larger / taller signs are the ones that would be potentially considered for Crest Pier along Ocean Avenue and Atlantic Avenue. So I like either one of them personally. I think I like the one that I'm going to say it's option 4 for the recreation center. It kind of like goes up and then it has an arm that comes out. One thing I will say is I like the old-fashioned look of the crest, the term Crest Pier logo that's on there now. It's kind of written in that old-fashioned script. If we could keep that element, I think that would be nice on this sign. But certainly you could twist my arm into keeping the logo and the branding as well. I just think there's something unique about that Crest Pier and keeping a part of the history of that building intact.
Yeah, no problem with that.
No,
That's a
I'm
good
fine.
idea.
I'm fine.
So Mr. Kniff, Mr. Kniff, check 1, 2. If we could maybe, well, let me just make sure everybody's on board with the design. It's option 4.
Don, if I may,
Yeah, sure.
Mr. Palmer from the company is on his way.
Is?
Yeah, he had indicated he could not get here before 9:45, so, hopefully he's coming any minute and can answer any questions that you have.
Gotcha. All right, so I'll wait for him to get here. That's right. You did say that I think in an email I recall saying it.
I have, just looking at this without knowing a whole heck of a lot, is there any way, instead of 72 inches off the ground, that we could raise that a little higher? Because I'm afraid of potential banging into it, or, you know what I mean, the bottom part of it says 72 inches. So we raise that up a bit to maybe another foot.
Yeah, that's what, 6 foot tall?
Yeah,
Somebody would have
I'm
to-
just concerned about vandalism or what, somebody bumping
That may
into
be
it.
something you have to work on. You may bump your head
I might,
underneath
right.
that sign.
You and I don't have to
You don't
worry
Don't
about
have to worry about
I
that,
have to
right?
jump and I still couldn't hit it.
it, but I think that needs to be raised.
All right, so let's make that comment, and then when Mr. Clark is his name? Palmer gets here, we can ask that question. All right, so let's just table that for a second, and let's move on to summer hours. I believe there was an informal request for the governing body to consider, maybe some summer hour revision here at Municipal Hall. Francine, you want to just kind of overview that? I think that was just overview. I don't think we're prepared to make a decision here today, but if there's anything that you want to add for us to consider, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. I sent out an email 2 weeks ago just as a scenario that the borough could, that the commissioners could consider possibly having summer hours as a test in July and August, which would mean, what I proposed was closing the building on Fridays at 1:30. The employees would work their normal hours. They would just work a modified lunch hour during the week to make up for the shortened workday on Friday. Or possibly another option would be a rotating schedule with staff. So I just put those two scenarios out there for consideration.
Okay, so I would say that we probably everybody needs some tank time on that, think through, discuss it with Francine and Constance and anybody else, just make sure that you understand the request, look at it from all angles, from the public's angle, from internal to the rest of the departments globally through the borough, and then we can make a decision from there. So why don't we list that under old business,
Will do.
Trish, and keep it out there until such time as a decision gets made one way or the other. Everybody good with that?
I was just curious on the dates.
So dates, I
wasn't-
I just put it forward as a test, so summer hours, obviously, we're in the month of June already, so I figured for a test, it would just be July and August. Wouldn't be straight through the year, but for July and August, it would help maybe for staff members to leave early on Friday and, beat the traffic to get home as well.
Okay, all right. Any more questions for Francine?
Thank you for your
Good.
consideration.
No worries. All right, the last one is historian. I had asked Trish to list this on here, and the reason is as you recall, we had the former Crest Historical Society has left the borough some artifacts that are currently being stored at the ambulance corps, and those artifacts need to be cleaned up and ultimately then placed in the Crest Arts Pavilion. So, but also in doing so, I think that since the Historical Society has not been in existence, and in essence, there's really, other than what Brian as our public information officer does and what we've done internally, there's really nobody capturing the history of what's going on in our own community. And I think that, and I'm not sure if this is something that we want to, maybe anoint somebody internally, if we need to find a part-time person, if there's a plan out there that just doesn't come to mind at the moment. But I think it's important that, there's a lot of good things going on in our community at this time, but there's no one capturing it, so that 10, 20, 30, 50 years down the road, no one's going to know how we got to where we are today. I'll be 6 feet under, but at that point, but I think at some point, for the sake of our history and for the sake of our youth and our community, I think we need to capture that. And I don't know how best to go about that, but I thought it was important knowing that we're capturing history to a certain point into the Crest Arts Pavilion, but in the future and going forward, how are we capturing that now? So I'm throwing it out there. I don't have an answer. I just think that everyone should just think about it, and we can go from there. There's no more historical society. There's nobody internally other than what we're capturing via press releases and some photos, but I don't know how about going about it. And I believe there might be some grant opportunities out there with the state we could look into. I believe in North Wildwood, I think their clerk is their historian. I'm not saying
Yes.
Madam Clerk is the one here in the Crest, unless she's raising her hand and saying I'll do it. But
They went under the table.
so I just thought I'd throw that out there. And I don't know if anybody has any thoughts. By all means, I'm here. I'm happy to entertain.
I
that.
actually am thinking of one right now, and that's Ralph Grassi. That man has a lot of knowledge about our town. I don't know if he would want to do it, but he seems like the perfect candidate. Maybe if you want to reach out, or I'll reach out to him.
Yeah, I'm open to anything. Really.
I hate to throw that on him, but he may.
Obviously, we'd have to
He's actually a good
consider
candidate for that.
possibilities for anyone, so if
I would say
if
let's
anyone wants
just
to
go
step
through
up
it,
and
and
do
then
it.
let's let everybody give their thoughts to Connie and Trish, and
Do we want to maybe put an advertisement out there?
we could do that too.
I mean,
I'm-
something.
Yeah, I think I'm just concerned, like, the structure. Is it a volunteer? I don't think it's a volunteer, because I think it's hard to ask. I think it's ask someone for their time and then not get paid for it. I think that's kind of crazy. I think it's probably a part-time position. It's gotta be someone that knows our town. It's gotta be someone that maybe, understands, what the parks used to look like and what they are today. Maybe the, potential changes on New Jersey Avenue, some of the old structures that have come down and been replaced with new structures, all of that.
It's got to be a person that loves our town.
Yeah.
Do you want me to try to find out when the historians make, do a kind of poll?
Yeah, I think all the information we can get, but I just think that as we trying to protect our history here in the Crest, so it doesn't just get flushed down the toilet. Kids walk out, our grandkids, and they say, how the heck did this come to be? Nobody knows anything.
Agreed.
Fine, that's fine.
Everybody good? All right. Okay, under old business, Back Beach excavation is tabled until potentially end of this year in plans for 2023. Office moves, I believe we received a packet from Chief Lloyd. I have not had a chance to review it yet, so if everybody could review that and provide your thoughts to the chief, right? That's what we want to do. We'll go from there. New Jersey lot. So I know that we had, I believe we have made the decision to move forward on the sale of the Rosemary and Seaview lots that were donated to the borough by the Fox family. And I believe that the last discussion I was aware of, we're moving forward with that plan. The question is do we want to do a live auction or a sealed bid auction? I believe the answer was a sealed bid, a live bid, so that folks can go through that process of bidding each other out and the highest bidder wins. Is everybody okay with that plan? I think that would probably be the best move for dollars back to the borough.
That's fine for me.
Everybody good with that?
Agreed.
All right, so who are we anointing to see this process through?
You need an auctioneer on this, right?
Do we get an auctioneer yet?
Yeah, we can get an auctioneer.
You would have to
You have
actually
to have
have an
somebody.
auctioneer.
Yeah, there's a
I'll
company out there.
suggest Joe Franco to do
Max
that.
Stanley.
Like,
Yeah.
Fast enough.
We get Johnny Lynch to do it.
Percentage.
Do I get $9.50? Do I get $9.75? Do I
There you
get
go.
$9.75? $9.75 over there
What
going
do they,
once?
what do they usually get, Connie?
I don't
I
know.
would have to
Charge.
ask, last time I did it was, 7-8 years ago, it was Max Band that did it for them. But when I did it in Point, the tax collector did it, because the tax collector generally does the same type of configuration in a tax sale. So we did use the tax collector when the 3 lots were sold at Cape May Point. but there are companies out there we can get proposals from.
All right, so between Solicitor Galzunas and Administrator Mann, can you guys put that plan in motion? And I guess at what point and once we have that, we need to erect a sign on the property perhaps, right? That says, hey, go on the live auction on this date. And then Public Information Officer Brian Kniff can blitz the media about the same. All right, and then when we get to, so, Mr. Shear, can you coordinate getting the sign erected as soon as Solicitor Galzunas and Administrator Mann has everything? All right. All right. All right, flood mitigation projects, nothing on that yet. Consumption license, nothing on that. Dredging, anything new to report?
Dredging, we met I think Connie touched on this last meeting. We met with the head of DEP, Sean Leptriette, Mark, myself, and Connie to discuss the project moving forward. If DEP could help, the project is actually in movement, so we are he got us in touch with Ms. Biggins. She is in
She's
the
the head of sediment and dredging technology at the DEP.
So we have a tentative meeting with her in the next couple weeks, and that process is moving along. It's a lot further along than we have been in a long time, so I'm excited for that project. So
Scott Douglas will be on that.
Scott
as
Douglas,
well,
yes.
And then we'll meet him following separately with all of the mayors and administrators of the island community.
Okay. Takes care of dredging, beach patrol building, Commissioner?
Yes, we're waiting for a decision from Mr. Lomax's group to see we can progress on part of the building that might hold us up a little bit. So what's that about 30 to 60 days?
Yeah, it could be 60 days. The JD was supposed to go in yesterday. We talked to Pete Lomax. He had a few minor changes to make with the application, and it was supposed to be submitted yesterday to the DEP. It could take anywhere from 30 to 60 days. Sometimes they come in sooner, but it depends on whose desk that lands on at DEP land use.
Okay, so, and then I
once
think,
that decision's made, that would determine whether we need permits or don't need permits, CAFR permits going forward for the construction.
all right, and then we're okay with Mr. de Blasio's structural review, we help, right?
He's sending a
We're just
proposal
getting
for
into it,
structural
yeah.
review.
All right. Yeah, so yesterday, I was okay with it, because I think we need to fast track this and get it going.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thanks for your help, too.
All right, so CAFR permit is still on hold until we get the JD in, right?
We won't know if we need a CAFR permit, that's what's gonna determine it. That letter's gonna say, yes, you need a permit, or no, you don't.
Okay,
So if we need it, then that's a whole other round that we have to apply for before we can go out to bid and award a contract, because, as I was explaining to Commissioner Schiff, you can't necessarily award a contract, you can do that within 60 days of acceptance of bids, without having a permit in hand, you wouldn't be able to do that. The contract would have to be a permit in order to construct.
right.
So if they come back with, yes, you need a permit, then that will hold things up on the actual construction, and going out to bid.
All right, so 30 to 60, we're,
Yeah.
timeframe, got it.
We're in a little holding pattern.
Okay. Preston Park, I know we're ready to go out to bid on that, for phase 1, which is generally the site work, right, Mr. de Blasio? And the landscape architect, Mr. Bauer?
Yes, we're gonna be getting a proposal on that by tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, let's move back to, I believe we have Casey Sign here in the audience to discuss the sign proposal and designs.
How you doing?
Good, so, couple quick questions. So before you got here, can you, so do you have the designs in front of you by chance? So we have different options. We have option one with optional lead size increase, option 2, 3, 4. Can you just so that we make sure we understand, is option 1 for the Crest Arts Pavilion, which is currently under construction?
Yes, it was my understanding that everything we quoted was for that was the new rec building.
Well, so the new rec building, and then there's the Crest Pier building. There's 2 buildings.
It's the one that was you go to down by it's down right by the beach, across from the.
It's the new arts building, but then the second sign would be going at the recreation center. Remember we went over that with the taller sign? That would be the taller of the two.
So that's option 4 you're talking about,
Yeah.
right, Brian?
All right, so this so option 1 and option 2, just so we can mark them, they are the designs or draft designs for the Crest Arts Pavilion, is that right?
Yes, I mean, they're universal. I mean, you could put either design at either location. I mean, I know, as Brian mentioned, the taller one would be for another location, but you can use either of these, you can use any of these designs at any location. It would just come down to your decision as far as which designs you'd want at either location.
Okay, so I think it's safe to assume, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, so the taller signs, I think we want at the Crest Pier,
Yes, sir.
right? So Commissioner Schiff, before you got into the room here today, had suggested, is there a way to make the sign, to the bottom of the sign, so if you're walking under it, you have it shown as 72 inches, can it be taller than 72 inches?
I mean, we'll make it, we can custom make it as high as you'd like. Without knowing the zoning laws offhand, it really comes down to what the municipality will allow, how high it can be.
Well, this is our property. Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just saying, we just, if you're allowed to have it 20 feet in the air, we'll make it 20 feet in the air. I mean, it really comes down to whatever you guys want it to be, we'll make it that height.
All right, so I think, so 72 inches, I think he's right. I think 6 feet's probably too low. I think I don't know, I would suggest maybe 78 inches. 78 inches, like maybe someone that's 6'6". I don't know how many, how tall are you, Joe?
Up another foot, Joe?
6'2".
He's 6'2", that's pretty tall. I don't know how many 6'6"ers we have. Do we?
Dave
Ron?
Smith.
Ron, what are you, 6'1"?
I'm 6 even.
6 even? I'm 5'6", I feel like a short guy.
I'm 5'10", if everybody needs to know, so we can all, I would suggest raising it another foot.
Yeah, I mean,
84?
the thing about, I mean, we do everything in-house as far as design, fabrication, installation. It's completely custom. So whatever, if you guys tell us we want it 6 feet off the ground, if you tell us we want it 8, 10, 12, we'll make it to any spec that you guys would like it to
Do you
be.
do repairs on these signs? Like after you install them, is there any vandalism? If they're too low, are they vulnerable to being damaged?
I mean, you're always gonna be, I mean, it's like anything, whether it's a sign or somebody's property in town, I can't say if someone's gonna damage it or not, but there is a 5-year parts warranty on it. So if something happens to it in the first 5 years, if a part goes down, then it'll be replaced for no charge.
Even if it's vandalized, going down?
Yeah, I mean, if it's
fine.
broken,
Yeah.
you're covered under your warranty.
Well, the face of it itself, I mean, it's electronics. You shouldn't be touching it. You don't want kids being able to reach it.
I mean, just to give you, I have our demo trailer outside. I mean, I'll smack it with a wrench and it's not gonna break. They make them very durable. They're very, very hard to break.
Even in high winds and
Yes, I
hurricane
mean,
winds.
so what happens is, after we have the design, typically the municipality will require engineer drawings. And when the engineer drawings are done, you'll have the wind rating, everything in there. Typically, they're just my knowledge of it from previous jobs that we've done. They're usually rated at least 120 miles an hour.
I have a question for our chief. Line of sight for driving, if it's too low, do we have an issue with oncoming or traffic not being able to see it the right way? Like where the sign, I would imagine we're gonna put the sign where the Crest Pier sign is right now, correct?
Yep.
So that's kinda high. You could see under it for the oncoming traffic. I'm not sure if we have to worry about that.
Back on our property, on the property, it shouldn't be that much of an issue.
Okay,
But I think the higher that they are, the easier it is for traffic to see it without interrupting their vision of the roadway.
yeah, that's the only thing I was thinking of.
That's why, like, for our signboards, they get raised fairly high, so that everybody can see it as they're traveling.
Okay, so,
Just to your point, Commissioner, it is something, it may go before the planning board just for a courtesy review, is the typical process. And it is something at that point that the engineer would look at for site triangles, make sure it complies, not a safety issue, doesn't cause a obstruction in a view corridor.
Thank you.
okay, so, Joe, so if you look at option 3 or 4, so I guess option 4, I'm talking specifically for the Crest Pier building?
Yes.
Okay, so that sign looks a little wider, so it's got a 2 foot, 24 inches, then a 30-inch main, I guess the sign itself attaches to the main pole.
Yes, so under that that's called a sign skirt. So underneath, that's covering the 6x6 steel pole that this is going to be attached to. So that's typically made out of 080 aluminum. And then on the left-hand side, you know, we were just, after speaking with Brian a few times about the design, you know, we were given what the Wildwood City Hall has and, you know, kind of mimic it a little bit after that. So that's why our one of our designers who did this project, he came up with that, the Wildwood Crest portion on the left-hand side.
Okay, so how does it mount? You have to core drill it into the concrete there?
So yeah, we'll bring out depending on how high it's up, will depend on how deep we go down. We go down, on any sign, it's a minimum of 4 feet, and that's typically something that's,
4 feet set in concrete?
Yes, so what we'll do is we bring an auger, we have a skid steer with an auger mounted to the head of it. You come in, drill down, it's a 30-inch diameter hole. You know, like I said, depending on how high the sign is, will determine the depth that will go down. And then we set that 6x6 steel pole in concrete, so you have a new concrete footer. And then we come back a day later to do the rest of the installation.
So there, if I'm not mistaken, there's a sidewalk there. The sign sits on the borough landscaped area, and then there's the sidewalk. So why don't, like, I'm throwing out there. I like this option 4 for the Crest Pier, but I'm also concerned about maybe it's too much for that area because there's not as much room because of the sidewalk. So can you, and Brian, maybe after this meeting, can you go over and just take a look at the 2 potential locations? Because you may say, hey, this option 4 might be overkill, maybe it should be option 3 or something else. I just want to make sure you guys set your eyes on that and use your expertise on
That's
that
no
area.
problem.
The option 4, does this hang over the parking lot at all? Under any cars or anything? Or?
I have not been to that location, so I can take a look today and see what would work best for you guys.
So the one in the front, excuse me, the one in the front would
Thank
be
you.
over the grass, right, Joe?
Or the sidewalk?
The one in the front of the building.
What, on the ocean side, Ocean Avenue?
No, on, what's the next one?
Atlantic?
Atlantic Avenue. That's over the grass. The other one's over the sidewalk.
That would be over the sidewalk.
That would be Ocean.
Right, yep. One would be over the sidewalk and one would be.
I didn't know how far it jutted out, if
Yeah.
it hit the parking lot, but Brian doesn't seem to think it does.
Not if the current one is constructed, I don't know if this one.
So how about we do this? How about after this meeting, for Crest Pier, take over and just eyeball that. Because it may very well, it may not be the same sign on both sides. You may say this sign will work on Ocean Avenue, but maybe this sign works over here. But I think the bottom line is we just,
Yeah, I
needs to
mean,
be higher. And to the point
I have
of,
not been to Crest Pier location, but the other location I've been to, and any one of these designs, because it's, the way we had it set up with the renderings here is it's set back on the grass, so it really doesn't matter which design you go with. The whole sign would be over the grass.
As wide as this one. So you might have to make a decision on how how wide that is.
Okay.
That's the difference in it.
All right, so we'll wait to hear back from you. But here's, so if you can make these notes, I'd appreciate it. So, the Crest Pier logo, when you go over there, you're gonna see the old-fashioned Crest Pier script.
Okay.
So I'm not saying we go away from what you have here, but somewhere, if you can, design-wise, if there's a way to keep that historical part of the building. That logo is, for some of our folks in the Crest, it's very heartfelt. I'll use that term, because
Okay.
the Crest Pier, and they like to keep that look.
Do
It can
you
still be
guys have
modern,
a-
but just kind of brand it with that look.
Do you guys have that in an art file, say like a vector AI?
I don't think so, but you're welcome to kind of recreate it if you want and get it as close as you possible as you can.
Okay. So,
And then-
so there's, you don't have a picture of that one file anywhere? Even if it's a JPEG or a PDF, PNG?
I'm not
You
aware.
take one
The
today.
historian would.
Yeah, the historian would have it, if you have one.
Is that why we need one?
We'll call Scott. We'll follow.
Yeah. We may have to recreate it,
Yeah, I
honestly.
mean,
We
we
may
can
take a
do-
picture
if
and
I
have to
can-
have a graphic
I can
designer.
get a picture of it in we've got, our graphic design team can recreate it.
Okay, all right, so wait to hear back from you. So we're gonna need a revised design for the Crest Pier. And if you could label the taller signs for when we go to review this one more time as Crest Pier, Ocean Avenue side, Crest Pier, Atlantic Avenue side. That way, that'll help us understand which ones you guys are proposing for each side of the building. And then the Crest Arts Pavilion. So I just think that whatever, the lowest one, in my opinion, is what we want, because the beauty of the building is, we don't want to block the beauty of the architecture of the building.
Gotcha.
Should be down as low, and I think probably option one probably works.
Okay.
But we don't have a logo for the term Crest Arts Pavilion, but that name is what needs to be on the sign.
Okay.
Or even it's just Arts Pavilion, or or Pavilion, whichever.
So would you want Wildwood Crest Arts Pavilion or just Crest Arts Pavilion?
Yeah, I think, what did we name it? What was the was it
It
Crest
was
Arts?
Crest Arts
Crest
Pavilion.
Arts Pavilion is the official name by
Okay.
resolution.
That's no problem.
All right, and then you're gonna revise the numbers, and I think hopefully within the next 2 weeks, or we'll be ready.
Yeah, I mean, I can have this stuff back, by the end of the week.
All right, last question is, so I think, do we need internet service then to these signs?
So no, it's a cell modem, so, you don't have to have, you don't have to be hardwired or have Wi-Fi to it. It's just, it runs off a cell modem, similar to what your cell phone is.
Oh, so there's no wires and no internet?
No, well, you have to have you'll have to have power to it, but as far as the internet, because it's cloud-based software, it's a cell modem, you don't have to have any type of Wi-Fi or, the old way of doing it, when they first started making these, you had to have a hard wire, like an Ethernet cable to it. Then it moved to Wi-Fi, now everybody's going to cell modem.
Gotcha. Yeah, and this comes with design specs, right? Because our construction official, I'm assuming he's gonna have to sign off on this as well?
Yes, I mean, we'll have these, and then, there also will be engineer drawings as well,
Cool.
so.
Gentlemen, any questions for Joe?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Now,
so,
I also brought our actual demo trailer here, so if you when the meeting's over, if you guys would wanna take a look at it.
yeah, you guys are in, is it Pennsylvania, Ashton, is it?
We're in Aston,
Aston.
it's, we have a 50,000 square foot factory up there, that's where we do all the work.
Yeah,
We're a family-owned and operated company. The Clark family, they have a second home in Ocean City, so we also have a satellite office over there as well.
yeah, I'm familiar, in my private sector and my fundraising sector, I've worked with Casey Signs, but they've always found it to be very professional and very detail-oriented and everything to do with a good quality job. So we can't go wrong by using Casey Signs for sure.
Okay.
And then they have the co-op, right, Francine? So we're
Yes.
Yes, we're in the Hunterdon County Co-op. We also just got in the ESCNJ Co-op
We're in
as
that too.
well. The only problem is the ESCNJ Co-op allows us to do everything but LEDs through it. But the other one, the Hunterdon County, is a blanket co-op, so doesn't matter what the scope of work is, we can we can do any type of job through the Hunterdon County.
As far as all that
I
co-op
think so,
talk,
too.
I'm gonna defer all that to our CFO, because you're talking Greek to me.
Yeah, I understand.
But as long as she says it's good, and we can cut through the red tape and get it done, that's what I think.
Okay. I mean, that's why,
Sounds very
you know,
familiar.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big reasons why it took us 3 years to get into it, but it's been well worth it.
All right, thank you. All right, so that's gonna wrap up our new business discussion. That brings us to our last round of public comments before we head into commissioner comments and then ultimately the closed session. Is there anybody here that has any public comments in the audience? Hearing none, I'm gonna ask anyone on the conference line for any public comments. All right, we'll move forward to commissioner comments. Gentlemen?
Do you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
You go
You
first.
take it first.
You want me to go first? All right. Just be brief. I just wanted to send out my condolences to Joel Green, his family, the man that unfortunately passed away on our beach yesterday. It's an unfortunate situation, and on behalf of the governing body, I'm sure they feel the same way, that it's a sad day for us and for his family. So our condolences to him and his family.
Speaking of which, I'd like to thank our police, once again, our EMS, for that situation yesterday. Wildwood Crest Fire, and also Wildwood Fire for coming out so swiftly, which brings us to another point, which is people have to understand the power of that water. And we are not guarded on Wildwood Crest Beach or Wildwood Beach or North Wildwood Beach until this coming weekend. Full-time guards will be there. Unfortunately, people don't understand it. And I don't know how to get the word out there. I don't know, we could put 1 million signs out there and people don't read them. I don't know whether we put something in a hotel, in the motels or the hotels, with a card in there explaining how to get out of a riptide or a current, or I don't know what the answer is. I know the chief is, we're gonna be discussing different options. I'm not sure what they'll be. One of our goals with Chief Johnson is to put together a response, a water after hours, not during the summer, but on the shoulder months, some sort of after hours water response. Even though we may do that, and I'd like to, unfortunately, there's a short amount of time in that window. So you're going from rescue, and I don't know what that window is, to recovery. And I want to do the best we possibly can to avoid this stuff, that's all. It humbles me and it hurts me. But, thank you.
Thank you. And I will echo Commissioner Franco and Commissioner Schiff's comments with respect to the recent drownings on the Crest Beach. Also want to just let everyone know that Pacific Avenue is finally open for driving. The county is finishing up the line striping as we speak, hopefully be done by the end of this week. The ultimate plan, if anybody asks, is that the bike lanes that the county had put into place will hopefully connect to at Rambler Road, Seaview Avenue, and also direct bicycle traffic to the oceanfront bicycle path as well. And lastly, just want to remind everyone, next Saturday is the Create in the Crest Festival at the Centennial Park. All right, and I think that wraps up the commissioner
Time.
comments. 10 o'clock?
10 to 2, yes.
10 to 2. All right, I think that wraps it up.
That wraps it up.
Wraps it up. Before we go into closed session,
I'm
we'll
going
take
to read the resolution,
go
and then we
ahead.
can take a
a
minute break.
3-minute. Yeah, take a 3-minute.
Okay, so we are going into closed session. It's authorizing executive closed session in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically NJSA 10:4-12B, with regard to terms of employment. Can I get a motion?
Motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call, Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. All right, we'll take a 3-minute